Feld. I'll call Building and Zoning Committee to order. It is 8:34 by my clock, and we'll jump right in with item number 1, review of Zoning Hearing Board decisions. Item A, Appeal 25-3785A, Elkins Park LLC for Harrison Avenue. Mr. Sekawongo, do you want to give us a 30-second overview?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this was the application for a property at the corner of Montgomery and Harrison Avenue. A number of the residents attended that meeting and entered party status. The board granted approval to allow for duplex use on the property for a lot that was smaller than what was permitted, with conditions that included no short-term rentals. Property could not be listed or advertised for short-term rentals. Additionally, as part of that, they had to provide and ensure that they had sufficient parking. As-built plans had to be submitted to ensure that they met the requirements of the as part of the testimony. Again, this property is in Ward 4, and it's before you for, I'm sorry, Ward.
I'd say that's Ward 6, isn't it?
Ward 6, yeah. I apologize.
It's my ward, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Sekawongo. And before I turn it over to Commissioner Ziegman-Feld for a motion, I will note that while this did elicit a lot of feedback from the community, the Zoning Hearing Board did adopt, frankly, impose the conditions that this committee set forth for the applicant, and there is which I think is going to have a significant positive impact. So, Commissioner Ziegman-Feld, and then Commissioner Cherico.
Okay, Mr. President, so I do have some concerns because there are a number of neighbors who are concerned that there may be a precedent being set here when there is not, a clear enough hardship. It has been granted with conditions, but there are other properties within my ward and probably within other wards where there are similar kinds of applications. They're being submitted with a similar, very unclear hardship that will be able to accept conditions. In fact, this property may be owned by some of the people who have submitted other things. So the comment here is there's a concern about changing the character of a community with certain kinds of housing types, and without having the kind of amenities and accommodations for the rest of the neighborhood. So I just add there's a continuing concern both for this property and also for other properties, both within my ward and with other wards, where you have a similar quote unquote hardship that has not been clearly established, but is being accepted or accommodated with conditions that may or may not satisfy the concerns of the neighbors. We understand the limitations that we have, and we can ask that all of the guidance from our SALDO is enforced to the greatest degree. That still may not satisfy many of the neighbors for this property and similar properties throughout the township. And I think one of the things we have to do is recognize that there will be some of these developments that happen despite our best efforts, or at least our concerns regarding whether or not they fit into the specific neighborhood. They still receive permission from the ZHB, which is the legal body that does interpret our laws and regulations. So I just wanted to put that on the table, and I'll yield now to Commissioner Cherico, Mr. Chairman, who probably has similar kinds of questions.
Yeah. So before I turn over to Commissioner Cherico, just a comment that, yeah, I mean, I think the concerns are certainly well-founded. As I understand it, Mr. Diaz, correct me if I'm wrong, each application is judged on its own merits. And so the notion of a precedent under this circumstance, it may not carry over to others, but I think it's important for this committee to certainly encourage the Zoning Hearing Board to be vigilant in its review of these applications, as we are, and as it always is. But just to reiterate the importance of being vigilant in ensuring that the zoning hearing board is looking at some of these applications as critically as they need to be, considering the circumstances and the concerns raised by the community. That being said, on this application and this decision, I'm not, this is my personal opinion, I'm not sure that there are grounds to take an appeal to court on this particular decision. But with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Cherico.
So my biggest problem is that just the lack of any sort of concern that this applicant seems to have for township rules. We have, again, on Airbnb, we have one of his short-term rentals up here for $1,242 for 11 nights. This isn't allowed. He has been told about this multiple times. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Henry, we're taking him to court later this month for this, yet he continues to do this. At what point, do we say enough is enough? If you're not going to follow the rules, then we're not going to be able to grant you, or we're going to put up, until you start following the rules. I just don't understand why we're continuing to grant him permission for these things when, and granted, I understand there's a different property that we're talking about here, but still, if he's not following the rules that we've set forth already, he's being brought to court in 2 weeks on this very issue that he continues to do. What leads us to believe that he's going to actually follow the rules that we've set forth in this agreement, or that the zoning board set forth? It's frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating. You're right.
This is the kind of people this is the kind of developers they're not, this is not a positive thing for our community to have someone who just thumbs their nose again and again at the township rules.
Mr. Diazio, are you able to weigh in on the concern raised by Commissioner Cherico?
Sure. I mean, the legal answer is that code violations are addressed through district court, through citations. There's never really a circumstance where where a zoning hearing board can deny zoning relief to a property owner because of a code issue, right? So the zoning hearing board has to interpret the zoning code, and an undersized lot, which I think is what we were dealing with this case, is a clear example of a hardship, right? And I think that is likely what the zoning hearing board was faced with. That does not mean, though, that just because you have zoning relief, you can not follow the rules. And when you don't follow the rules, that's why we have a codes department that will go out and cite, and eventually you end up before a judge. And that's where this matter is. And so the township's recourse is to go to court and to present the case to the judge, and the judge was fines and put restrictions. And that's in this case what we're doing. My office will be supporting township staff at that upcoming hearing in a few weeks, and we'll be prepared to share the story with the court. But that's the way that you address code violations.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
At what point does he become a nuisance, a nuisance property? At what point, what does he, how many violations, how many times does he need to be brought to the magistrate before it becomes a nuisance?
I don't think there's a magic number to that. That would be something that is very fact specific, right? We can talk more about that in another forum, but there's not a magic number.
Okay.
So in the same vein that I was talking about vigilance and enforcing our zoning code, we have our code enforcement officer on this call. Is probably going to show up in a couple minutes with his report. I think we need to be as vigilant in enforcing the code, in particular on this type of situation, as you have been. But I think ensuring that we're addressing those conditions that we've worked so hard to obtain in this application and in others is really important to make sure that we're sort of putting our money where our mouth is. Commissioner Rappaport, please.
Thank you again. So I was very disappointed in the ruling by the zoning hearing board. It seemed to me, I'm not necessarily going to recommend that we appeal it, but it seemed to me that it was not the minimum that was the minimum variance in terms of he had alternatives for outdoor recreation, and he had alternatives to make it a single family house. So those could have been more minimum. So I don't buy that he met the criteria, and in that sense, I don't agree. There's that family loophole that we've noticed that you need to fix. So there are several issues that I think really were not properly addressed by our zoning hearing board. And again, maybe we can talk outside of this forum, but I was very disappointed.
Thank you, Commissioner Rappaport. I know that this is impactful in the community, and it looks like there is one member of the community who has their hand raised. I'll allow one member to looks like Rose Sluices to make a comment very briefly, as brief as you can, and then we'll have a vote on this. Ms. Sluices?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. For the most part, what Jeff has said, about at what point do all these citations become a nuisance? We have a township employee who is filling folders with VRBO and Airbnb listings in order to present the case on July 17th. And at what point do we say, enough is enough, and this is a nuisance that we don't want on Harrison Avenue or any other place in the township? Because my understanding is that what he's doing on Harrison Avenue is only one location. He's got this kind of gig going on throughout the township. I have looked at Airbnb as it relates to Montgomery, the property on Montgomery Avenue. I have not checked other locations in the township. And I also want to mention there was a Zoom meeting where one of the members of the board mentioned that he could have made his purchase of the property contingent on getting the variance. He could have, seen that he was going to get the variance before he ever actually purchased the property. He chose to purchase it knowing that the square footage was, was slightly short. I don't understand how that is not self-imposed hardship. And he never mentioned hardship at the zoning hearing board meeting. He made no attempt to prove hardship, and yet the board gave it to him based on, that it was hardship and that it wasn't self-imposed. And I don't agree with that. And I also, I'm sorry, That's okay. As you can see, residents are very upset. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lucis. Okay, I'm going to bring the discussion to a close. Do we have a motion for no action?
We do, Mr. Chairman, reluctantly, but we've heard from our solicitor. We understand the limitations of the sanctions that we can bring against this particular developer and owner, and unfortunately, no action is really the only avenue that we have at our disposal.
And just for the public's sake, no action means we're not taking any action on the zoning hearing board decision to appeal it, but that does not mean we do not continue to enforce our codes and other provisions. So we have a motion for no action. All those in favor say aye.
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 I'll
Any
abstain.
nays?
I say nay.
I abstain.
So that's 3-2.
4-1-1.
I'm sorry, 4-1-1. Thank you.
Three.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
4-1-1. Just like dialing for information. Commissioner Zieggenfeld was faster on the math than I. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 1B, appeal number 25-3791, Keith Rafferty for 243 Harrison Avenue. Mr. Sekawongu?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This again is in Ward 1. The application was for a 4-foot high fence within the 100-yard floodplain. The zoning hearing board granted the variance request, and the board tonight can take action or no action on this.
So this one was pretty straightforward. It's in Ward 1. I'll move for no action. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of taking no action say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you all. Item 1C, appeal number 25-3792, Ramses Jean-Louis for 134 Yew Rd. Again, Mr. Sekawongu, if you don't mind.
Thank you. This is in Ward 7. The zoning hearing board granted the requested relief with conditions, one of which was specific to ensuring that there was a covenant in place once the property ceased being under the same ownership. Again, it's in Ward 1, and the Ward 7. I apologize. Ward 7, and the board can take action or no action. Thank you.
Yeah, and this one, if you recall, involved maybe a little bit of confusion at first about whether there was going to be multiple rentals in this property. The owner did commit not to have multiple rentals within the property. That's part of the that was part of the condition and part of the zoning hearing board decision, which was really the major concern. And appeared at the end of a fairly long conversation that issue was adequately resolved. So Commissioner Brockington's in your ward, any comments or?
No comments on this. Glad we kind of got that sort of settled. And I would go with no action.
All right, we have a motion for no action. Any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. Moving on to item number 2, the receipt of the monthly Citizens Committee meeting minutes. As we saw from Commissioner Zieggenfeld's meeting, the Planning Commission met on June 23rd and had a lot on its agenda, did a lot of positive work to help us make our decision in that committee meeting. Are there any comments or questions on the Planning Commission meeting minutes for June 2025? Yes, Commissioner Zieggenfeld.
Mr. Chairman, I did want to ask a question, just some clarification on the action that I believe the Planning Commission took regarding the sale of the stormwater management from the Briar Tract and all associated properties, both residential, commercial, and nonprofit to Aqua. And I was just wondering with I got a clarification from our township engineer, but it concerned me that we made a number of concessions and accommodations. We gave credits to those to all of the properties over there with respect to the stormwater management and ordinance and the enterprise fees and that kind of thing. I just thought it was kind of surprising that less than a year and a half later, they undertook this initiative. And it kind of felt like maybe that was something that was part and parcel of their planning. And it just concerned me that perhaps we missed being taken advantage of or just a bit bamboozled in that process. So I just wanted to put that on the table because I feel like we were put into a position with respect to threatened litigation, et cetera. And then a year and a half later, they're moving their stormwater asset And I know I was told it's not the same as the wastewater, but to my way of thinking, it's water that is coming in, the effluents and the water from the EDUs is coming into the township system. And in this case, it makes it seem like it was a calculated thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just bothers me that that we did all those accommodations and a year and a half later, we're in this situation. So I'm just raising the specter of the fact that it struck me as being a bit too calculated and very much, part of a design that we were unaware of. And with that, I'll step aside. I hate to get us into any more litigation I've already been responsible for getting us into, but it bothered me to see that request and that transaction in transit.
Thank you for your concern. Just for the public's sake, to be clear, the credits that were granted are related to stormwater. Aqua obviously is related to sanitary sewer, but just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not following you, Commissioner Zieggenfeld. That's your concerns are duly noted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Any other comments or questions on the Planning Commission? Otherwise, I'll move for acceptance. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right, thank you. There was no Bahar meeting in June, so we'll skip over that. Move on to item number 3, receipt of staff reports for May 2025. The Planning and Zoning monthly report. Mr. Sekawongo, is there anything you want to add to your report?
No, nothing to add. It's
Okay.
busy. We remain busy with all the land developments coming through. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that there's been a lot of preliminary meetings for land development throughout the township, and I know that you're coordinating those. Certainly it's happening in Ward 1. I'm sure it's happening elsewhere. And I really appreciate all the work that you're doing on that to make sure that we are getting in on the ground floor with these development projects to make sure that they are responsive to the community. And I know that that is always at the focal point for the work that you do, Henry. So thank you very much for all that. I'll move for acceptance of the Planning and Zoning monthly report. Are there any additional questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll move for acceptance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 3B, report of the building inspector. Is there anything that anyone wants to add on that? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of accepting the report of the building inspector say aye.
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 Report of the code administrator. Mr. Lynch, is there anything to add other than the fact that you're going to have Airbnb at the top of mind for the near future, huh?
Well, we'll just leave it at that.
There you go. All right. Any comments or questions on Mr. Lynch's report? All right, see none, I'll move for acceptance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Old business. There's nothing on the agenda. Is there any old business from the board for building and zoning? Once, twice. All right, we'll close old business. How about new business for building and zoning? Okay, seeing none, I will open it up to citizens forum. We have a couple left. Any citizens want to take 3 minutes or less and provide some feedback for building and zoning? Okay. Closing citizens forum. Before I move for adjournment, I just want to wish everybody on here and who may listen in the future a very happy and safe 4th of July. Remember, fireworks scare our animals, so be Miss Lucis, we did close citizens forum, but I will reopen it because I understand that maybe
Thank
you
you.
didn't get a chance to raise your hand in time.
Thank you. I've been in touch with a few of my neighbors, and I
Mhm.
know there were some that were wanting to speak after I did. So if any of them are still listening, maybe they could quickly jump on and say what they wanted to say after I finished. Thank you.
This would be the time.
Oh,
I don't see anyone, Ms. Lucis, but thank you
okay,
for
sorry.
no, that's quite all right. And thank you for representing your neighbors. I think you've done a very fine job, and it is certainly appreciated getting your feedback.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so we're now going to close Citizens Forum formally. I will move for adjournment, but again, wishing everybody a happy 4th of July. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Aye.